vessel near Singapore. Lucas Tomlinson has been following the recovery effort closely in Lucas. What can you tell us now?
Melissa, is the second major collision of a U.S. Navy warship in the past 2 months in the Pacific. And just moments ago, the Navy's top officer has called for a broader investigation.
This trend demands more forceful action. As such, I've directed an operational pause be taken in all of our fleets around the world.
I also fully support the Chief of Naval Operations, Admiral John Richardson's efforts right now. He has put together a broader inquiry to look into these incidents and to determine any of the causal factors.
This is the fourth major mishap for the U.S. Navy in the Pacific since late January. A guided missile cruiser ran aground in Tokyo Bay, spilling more than 1,000 gallons of oil. In May, another cruiser collided with a fishing boat. In June, the USS Fitzgerald hit a cargo ship, drowning 7 sailors. Now, 2 ship captains have already been relieved because of these mishaps. The latest collision involved USS John S. McCain, a guided missile destroyer which collided with an oil tanker 3 times its size near the busy Strait of Malacca. Its berthing space is flooded. The warship now in Singapore, and 10 sailors remain missing. Now, in a few hours, diving operations are expected at first light into the flooded compartments. 4 injured sailors were airlifted off the ship. The Navy is now looking at how it qualifies junior officers to stand watch, especially in these busy shipping lanes. The Navy is now, Melissa, down 2 destroyers capable of downing ballistic missiles, part of its defense against North Korean ballistic missile strikes. And, Melissa, the Trump defense budget called on building 8 new warships, 1 more than Obama's budget. Congress has called for building even more, 5 warships, but some say even more are needed now. Wow. Melissa?
Lucas, thank you. So distressing.
And here now to react to all of this is Peter Brookes, Heritage Foundation Senior Fellow for National Security Affairs. And Peter, you know, there's a question. I mean, what do we need to do to make sure that this doesn't happen again? This is the second destroyer accident in about 2 months. Is it equipment? Is it training? What does the military need so that we can prevent our soldiers and our sailors from being injured or killed?
Well, you're right, Cheryl, this is obviously very troubling, and I'm a retired Navy commander. I wasn't a surface warfare officer, but the Navy will run this down. They'll run everything from stem to stern to make sure that the training and operational tempo and the procedures are top notch. And it also, when we're talking about Afghanistan strategy, it also points out that there are other services that are under tremendous strain in operational tempo, even though they're not necessarily involved at this point in combat operations. But there's a lot of things to look at, and there's even opening up the aperture a little bit more. What about sequestration? Do we have enough ships? Are we pushing our people too hard? Are we pushing our equipment too hard? There's so many questions, and at this point, I just can't give you any real answers, but the Navy will run this down. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, well, something actually obviously has to change. But let's move over to the issue of Afghanistan now, because the president is, of course, getting ready to address the entire nation tonight in what could be one of the most important speeches of his presidency. He will reveal the strategy for Afghanistan. Peter, what do you think he's going to say? More importantly, what do you want him to say tonight?
Well, I think there's a couple of things out there. One is I think counterterror is critically important. Cheryl, most people don't realize that in the Afghanistan-Pakistan area, 20 of the 100 U.S. designated terrorist groups operate, 20 of 100. It's really a tremendous epicenter of violent Islamist extremism. So I think we have to have a counter-terror strategy there, especially as we're in the shadow of the 16th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks. Very important, because what happens over there can be brought here, as we saw just even with Barcelona in Spain. So critical we have a counter-terror strategy. I think we still need to try to help the Afghans fight the Taliban and the Haqqani network and ISIS as to maintain their sovereignty. But I'm not into nation building. I don't think we should try to turn this into a project to change Afghanistan fundamentally, but we should be able to try to assist them in elements that protect our national security.
It's been a long time. Real quick before I let you go, not a lot of time with you, but Afghanistan to North Korea. North Korea is warning of this uncontrollable nuclear war. You've got these military drills between ourselves themselves in South Korea today. How worried are you still about North Korea?
Well, North Korea doesn't like these exercises. They see it as a threat. It's mostly a computer-based exercise, actually. But we see a lot of this sort of rhetoric out of North Korea. We have to always take it seriously, but we have to understand we see it a lot. Conventional deterrence is critically important, and I think the president made good steps last week in reminding North Korea that they pick a fight with the United States, it will end badly for them.
All right, Peter Brookes. Peter, thank you very much. Certainly a great perspective from you on all of this. And, of course, we're following everything happening tonight. We're going to be listening, of course, to the president and see what he says, whether it's about North Korea. We know he's going to talk about Afghanistan and everything around the world. So we appreciate your time today. Peter, thank you.
Thanks for having me.
The Great American Eclipse, the historical phenomenon that has the nation completely destroyed.